What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. It looks like OBS is working. I hope it's actually working. It's been many days since I've last live streamed, which is strange. I'm used to streaming every single day. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for waiting for me. Thanks for not bailing. If you'd bailed on me, then you wouldn't be watching this anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, I was in Charleston. I've been in Charleston since Tuesday on a short film shoot, doing gaffer and lighting things, and it was a friend of mine, Michelle, Octopunk Media. I'm gonna drop a link on you guys in a second here. I've been working with her on lighting and gaffer work for the last, there's a link, for the last almost 4 years, and I've worked on probably 7 or 8 of her films now, and it's always an absolute blast, but this time was like next level. The DP, director of photography, and the AC, assistant camera, that I worked with were so cool. Within like 3 days we had like this shorthand, and we were like anticipating each other, and it was just oh man, it was just so cool. Such a cool experience. And yeah, so I'm like super, super, super buzzing from that. On the way home, stopped at a little farm spot and got a really cool high-speed, long-range-ish 2 little battery session in, which was fantastic. And getting ready for Rampage. Rampage this weekend. I'm going to be going up there with Daniel Maurer on Friday, midday Friday. And we're going to be building... actually, Jamie Ann is going to help us out. Little Stellar Fox offered to help us build the Micro Madness area for you guys. It's going to be inside, and there's a big old dive tunnel gap thing, a bunch of pipes, a bunch of other nonsense, some glowing green nuclear wastewater. Yeah, it's gonna be really good. I think that the tickets to Rampage are all sold out, but if they're not, go get a ticket now. Just Google like Rotor Riot Rampage. I'm sure you'll find it. Or mods, do me a favor, drop a link to the Rampage website. Yeah, really, really cool event. Shout out to Rotor Riot. It was kind of last minute, but they contacted me last week and said, "Hey, are you willing to build the Micro Madness area for us, or do you know anybody else that will? We'll pay." So yeah, that was really, really cool. And so I'm excited, man. They gave me Beta FPV, shout out to them, gave Rotor Riot, and by proxy me, a $500 budget, which I put into Amazon. Basically, I sent Drew a Amazon wish list of $500 worth of basically extension cords, LED rope lights, and some other simple silly stuff like a fan, because it might get hot in there, and some other shit. So yeah, Friday I'm gonna be setting that all up, and then every couple of hours on Saturday and Sunday, I'll be heading back there. There's gonna be a flight line manager who runs the actual flight line in there. And then I'm just gonna come back every so often to kind of check on it, and maybe I'll switch it up especially if there's a part that we've set up with the LEDs that's not being used, or it's too challenging, or it's not challenging enough. Yeah, we'll change it up. Although I'm kind of thinking about maybe just changing it up Saturday night so that Sunday is a whole different kind of area, because I feel like, it's going to be big long runs of 60 and 100-foot rope lights. I feel like it'll take all of about 10 minutes to kind of switch it up and move those rope lights around to kind of guide people into different areas. So yeah, it should be super, super, super fun. I'm really looking forward to meeting those of you that are going to be going. Rampage was a blast last time, and I'm sure it'll be awesome this time. So hope to see you there. In the chat, if you'd like to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is type my name like MotoRefFPV did. If you type CiottiFPV, and if you spell it correctly, it'll light up in orange as you see there, and yeah, I'll know that you're talking to me. Or if you want to make sure that I read your comment and respond to it, just drop a super chat. This is my full-time job nowadays. So the support is very appreciated and needed. So yeah, if you want to see me keep doing this, super chat is a great way. Keep in mind that YouTube does take 30%, totally fine. They give me this platform for free to stream from, so I'm absolutely fine with that. If you don't like the idea of YouTube taking 30%, you can hop on over to CiottiFPV.com. And you can use the PayPal button down here. That'll just send money direct, and I'll see the little notification pop up and give you a shout out. Speaking of, let me open my mail up here. Also over here on CiottiFPV.com are a whole bunch of other ways that you can support me. Patreon is the best. Patreon, there's a lot of really, really good, cool stuff going on over there. You're going to get email notifications every time that I stream. I do stream every day. when I'm not in Charleston working on a film set. You're going to get access to my Discord server with all of the boards and notifications over there when I stream. And you're also going to get access to the super secret Facebook group and notifications there when I stream. So a lot of cool stuff going on over there. There's also articles on like the quick and dirty way to PID tune, quick and dirty filter tuning, how to troubleshoot motor heat, mid throttle oscillations, all kinds of really good tech articles that I've written. I try to really boil this stuff down and make it into sort of bite-sized chunks so that everybody and anybody can PID tune or filter tune or troubleshoot their rigs, because it's really not that hard. Easy for me to say for sure, because I've been doing it for over 4 years, but with a little bit of guidance, I can usually get you back up in the air pretty quickly. If you want to more directly support me, over on Fiverr, I'm doing flight instruction via simulators, Velocidrone, liftoff, whatever you got. If you like the flying that I was doing at the opening of the stream there, and you want to fly like that yourself, I can most certainly help you out with that. I've got almost 10 years into motorsport instruction, helping people go faster and have more fun on the racetrack. It was pretty easy once I got good at flying FPV to kind of translate that on over. So I'm pretty good at kind of getting on with you. We do like a voice call or a Skype audio or Discord audio, and I just talk you through some drills. I take a look at how you're flying now and make some suggestions, different movements that you can do. If I see you pitching everything back, for example, I'm going to catch certain moves that look a little bit better pitched forward, in my opinion, stuff like that. Also, I'm doing tuning sessions over there and build planning. Micros can fly really, really well, but you got to pick all the right parts. So if you want a micro that actually flies well and crashes well, you got to choose the right parts top to bottom. And I've pissed away thousands and thousands of dollars to figure out which parts suck and which parts are good. So spend a couple of bucks, let me get you dialed in from the first time you build it, and then you won't have to waste all that time and money and frustration. Also, we got some apparel over on Teespring, t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, good stuff over there. The t-shirts and the sweatshirts, all the apparel over there on Teespring, I made it a point to choose their highest quality. They're made by Next Level. If you've ever gotten a t-shirt that's like, it just obviously is better quality material, and maybe you even feel better wearing it like I do, those are typically made by Next Level. And that's what all the t-shirts are. So treat yourself, get a good quality t-shirt that also happens to have your gangly buddy Ciotti's logo all over it. Over on Etsy, I've got some pretty cool stickers and some random hardware that's floating around that might help you out during your micro builds. And then over on FPV Exchange, you can see a bunch of the stuff that I'm offering. If you're not on FPV Exchange yet, you need to be, because it's one of the coolest, if not the coolest website from the last couple of years that we've had access to. It's the best way, in my opinion, to sell your gear and to price shop and stock shop gear. If you need to know where something is being sold, if it's in stock, and what it costs, you can do that on FPV Exchange by just searching for the name of the item, and then they're going to show you every single website that sells that item. At the same time, on that same page, if someone is selling a used version of it, they're going to be on top of the list because their price is going to be the lowest, and that's how it gets sorted out. Here's my little shop on there with a bunch of the stuff. Basically, FPV Exchange is just linking up with Etsy here. These are the actual items that I'm selling on FPV Exchange. And then FPV Exchange is even linking up with Fiverr here on a couple of the things that I do there. So, yeah, get on over to FPV Exchange. It's run by a guy named Nevin. In the chat, you're going to see him show up as Xenakis. He works in an ER by day, saving people's actual lives, and then comes home and saves us some money by giving us an opportunity to buy used gear from each other. And he is a huge supporter of this channel and me. There's a good chance that I wouldn't still be doing this full time if it weren't for Nevin. So support the people that support the content creators that you like, right? Because otherwise you won't have the content. Ha! In the chat, Kristen Vloat was first, Moto Ref, Kathy McGibbon, FinnFPV, Marcelius, Experimental RC, Dauntless FPV, Riot 9, California Gaming, Alexander FPV, Espander, Tweet FPV is in the house. Go subscribe to Tweet FPV as well. Dan is an excellent human being. He's doing live streams as well. All kinds of good content over on Tweet FPV's channel. Go show the man some love. You're going to love it. Stevo43068, Arctic Ice Quad, S-Grace, EBR FPV, California Gaming again, Brandon Bentley, Dare Ein, Patio Patterson, Freelojo, Remy Tim in the house, Frank Nicholas, and I'm going to stop there. If you want to hear a gangly guy read your name out, you got to be on the first, I don't know, 30 or so chats, so you got to get to my live streams early. Let me get caught up on everybody that has tagged me in the chat. MotoRef said, hey, CiottiFPV is back. Glad to be back, MotoRef. Family Guyver saying, what's up, collective? Mr. Huggy saying, had a nice time having a break and you had a nice time having a break and making a movie. I certainly did, Mr. Huggy. Hey, by the way, you know, one of the links, I have all my social shit linked here. One of them is to my Instagram. If you're curious as to what I've been up to, jump over to Instagram. I have a lot of the, I have a whole bunch of stills and video or two from the actual shoot. It was, man, I cannot wait to see this thing edited. It's gonna be called Fame Fatale, and yeah, the work that we were able to do and the quality that we were able to produce with three of us, which is a pretty small crew, on the camera side, was pretty staggering, man. And we kind of had like limited gear and limited time, but goddamn, man, we just killed it. That's Gabriel there, and then Summers here. Gabriel was the DP, Summers was the AC, and then I was doing, like I said, the gaff work. And my God, we just I hate to toot my own horn or whatever, but we fucking killed it, and it just looked absolutely amazing. Charleston's a great place to make a movie as well. This is one of the few outdoor scenes that we shot in. This is artwork by what's the artist's name? Patch Whiskey. Yeah, there's a bunch of Patch Whiskey artwork all over Charleston, which is super cool. We got to shoot in front of one of them. But yeah, man, we just absolutely nailed it. These two were absolute ninjas. It was such a joy to work alongside of Gabe and Summers. Man, just what a cool experience. What a cool experience. I got really emotional on the last day, like when Chris and I went to leave, which doesn't typically happen. Like, I usually have a really good time, but this was just something special, and it was, I really hope I get to work with them again. It was, yeah, it was really, really cool. Double A says hello, buddy, in chat. Good to have you, my man. Brandon Bentley in the house. Got a lot of mods here. T-Bird FPV is in the house as well, saying, what's up? Drone Goat saying, watching the big game of the season. Juventus Milan. What is that, Drone Goats? I haven't heard of that. Jay McLeod says, I live on the Libham-Lawrenceville line. Think you could squeeze a tune in before Rampage easily. Yeah, this week, this is going to be a busy week for me. I have a lot of repairs, a lot of sort of maintenance kind of stuff to do. I want to try to get everything in as good of a spot, like all my rigs up and just as dialed in as I possibly can, so that I can just annihilate all of their faces at Rampage. For the record, this Micro Mayhem area is like, it's gonna kill a lot. There's gonna be, I'm gonna say at least 100 rigs are gonna die in this area, because it's metal pipes, metal railings, metal chains, concrete floors, and like lots of opportunities for really sick footage. So there will be many a micro life claimed in this Micro Mayhem area. So I want to try to get as many up as I possibly can, so that I have as many to annihilate as possible. So yeah, if you've got like a micro build that's half done, get it done. So that you have as many as possible, because yeah, it's a crazy spot to fly. What, like, once in a lifetime spot to fly for sure. You will never get to fly a a spot like this. I'm also I'm having to redial all of my lights in. So as gaffer, typically you're the one bringing the majority of the lights. I don't really have a lot of big gear that can work on big sets like this, so typically Michelle will rent a bunch of gear for me, which she did this time, but I always make it a point to bring what I've got. So I broke down like everything, like the whole little pretty simple studio setup that I have here. I broke it all down and brought all of the lights that I possibly could. So I've been like scrambling for the last hour to get to get all the stands set back up. And all the light sources dialed back in, because we did end up using the majority of these lights, and like when I use my small little lights on set, I pretty much end up having to turn them all the way up, so I lose all my ratios and whatnot. So if I look a little bit different right now, it's just because the ratios are off, although I think it's pretty close. I usually have this kicked down just a little bit to keep the light off of that back wall there. But yeah, I get them dialed in before each stream. I spend a couple minutes before each stream just kind of like looking at OBS and looking for shadows and shiny bits and whatnot. Paul McDonald with a $5 super chat. He says, let's get this stream kicked off right. Welcome back, man. Thank you, Paul McDonald, for the support. Super chats help me eat, and I need to eat. Look how skinny I am, and keep doing this to bring you guys the content that apparently you want. If you're hanging out, right, you want it. So let's keep going together as the collective here. Man, my gear is all just like one by one. I see little parts of my gear that are like, oh god, that's about to fall apart. Double A was starting to get the jitters from a lack of gangly man. Gertjan X says, how did you start flying? I'm using liftoff, but it feels like almost no progression. In real no goggles, it is a lot better. I started flying line of sight, believe it or not, on a line of sight only rig. And then I don't think I got into the simulator until after I got the original Baby Hawk. So when the original all white, all plastic Emax Baby Hawk came out, I got it pretty quickly. So whenever that rig came out, I snagged that, thank God, instead of the Blade Torrent. And I started flying FPV on that rig in the goggles. I think it was like months that went by before I actually realized that there was such thing as a simulator. And then I dove into Free Rider, forget what the hell it was called initially. And then Velocidrone and Liftoff came out. I did Velocidrone first. I spent a little bit of time in Liftoff, but I really have preferred Velocidrone. If there's no progression, Gert-Jan, first of all, that's probably placebo. I can almost guarantee you there is progression going on. Your flying is not gonna, you're not gonna have a progression like this. You're gonna have a progression like this. Like there's gonna be many plateaus. Flying for real, one of the things in my experience that busts you through the plateaus is forcing yourself to crash more. Because typically when you've plateaued, you're not crashing a lot. I know that sounds weird, but stay with me. When you're not crashing, you're flying safe. When you're flying safe, you're not pushing yourself and taking chances. When you're not taking chances, you're not learning how close you can get to objects, how hard you can throw over an object, how backwards you can go, stuff like that. And like, starting this hobby now is tough, right? Like, there's a lot of really good pilots. This is still a relatively fresh hobby, but from when you, for your first, 2 years, typically, if you look at your footage from, a month ago, you'll be like, whoa, that's a whole different person. The ramp up is usually pretty steep, other than the plateaus. There's going to be plateaus no matter what. But yeah, like your footage gets so much better so fast in this hobby. So first and foremost, don't get discouraged by the professional pilots who fly really, really, really good, because those people are thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours into this, between the simulator, between real life, and there's no way, like I hate to break it to anybody, but like, you're not just magically better than any of the pro pilots just because, right? Like, if anything, the pro pilots are the ones that for some reason, when they got started, their past experiences fed perfectly into flying FPV. Maybe they flew RC airplanes or helis or something like that, right? So like, don't ever feel like your background is going to give you some magical advantage. It just doesn't work that way. Like, you just have to put the hours in, and yeah, and it's a lot of hours. You got to really, really, really just put your head down and pour time into this hobby, because there's a ton of subtlety, and the subtlety is where people get to pretty quickly that are really, really, really dedicated to this. And yeah, so you just have to keep pouring the time in. Just keep being stubborn, keep pushing yourself, keep crashing. When you hit those plateaus, take a look, see how often that you are crashing. I think I'm the only guy that's offering flight instruction. If you look at like every other really technical thing, right? I mean, just even more, take another step back, right? Life in general. If you want to get good at something fast, what do? You go to school for it. What do you do at school? You get access to an instructor, right? A teacher. So if the goal is to get better as a pilot and you're getting frustrated that that's not happening fast enough, there's two things you can do. You can spend more time, or you can get help, right? From somebody that's better than you, or not even necessarily better than you. Like, technically speaking, as an instructor, so motorsports is the deepest that I've gone in teaching, right? And there were drivers that were better than me that I would be able to help, because when you're driving, or in our case, when you're on the sticks, you're having to think about the sticks, and that takes up about 90% of your brain. So that other 10% of your brain is all you have available to think about, like, what the footage looks like. Should I have pitched forward instead of pitched back? Was there another gap that you weren't looking at because you were kind of dead set focused on the gap that was right in front of you? Having someone with you that is not on the sticks, they can devote 100% of their brain to looking for those improvements. So if you've got a buddy that you trust, what you need to do is tell them what you want them to do. Because if it's just very awkward, and most people don't just go into an instructor or a teacher role when they're in the goggles with you, right? Like, if you were to show up at a fly spot and there was somebody else there flying, and you start flying a battery and they start going, oh, you should have done this, oh, you should have done that, oh, why'd you do that, that was terrible, you're going to be like, who the fuck are you? And you're never going to fly with that person again, right? So you have to tell them, you have to give them permission to give you feedback, and it should probably not be like, hey, every single battery that I fly, please give me feedback. It should probably be something like, hey, can you just watch me on this battery and tell me what you think, dead honest. And then you have to resist the urge to come up with excuses for everything, right? Because it doesn't matter why you did it, right? And that tends to be the hardest part, and that's, me as an instructor for you, you're paying me to be brutally honest with you, and I'm gonna be brutally honest because you're paying me to do that, right? And if that pisses you off, I'm okay with that because you paid me. Somebody that you're not paying to do that, you got to kind of be careful with that, and try to just resist the urge to be like, oh yeah, I did that because of this. They don't care, right? Like, you ask them to do you, and they're doing you a favor, right? Like, they don't want, it's uncomfortable for them, more than likely, because they're probably not an instructor. Like, I've gotten used to it, but if you ask a normal person to do that, I mean, I guess, first of all, they can say no. Be cool with them saying no, because that shit's uncomfortable. Like, it feels weird to be like, oh, that didn't look good, you shouldn't do that, right? Like, that's hard to say to somebody that is like a friend or a pilot that you respect or something like that, right? But yeah, just understand that, like, whatever they say, just be like, okay, cool. Even if you don't agree with it, that shit don't matter. Like, they're giving you feedback, you ask them to give you feedback, take the feedback and store it away, and it's probably going to trigger, you're going to want to give excuses, and if you do, it's fine, right? That's perfectly natural. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a waste of time, right? It's a waste of time to give excuses. Just take what they say, let it, lock it away. I bet you in a couple of days, even if you thought they were wrong, in a couple of days, maybe you'll soul search a little bit and be like, it was actually a really good thing. Maybe you won't land on like, oh, that person was right, but if you get 10% of like, well, maybe someday I'll try it that way, the way that they thought it would look better. That's huge, right? That would not have happened otherwise. You would have just kept doing. So you know where it happens? So the easiest possible thing, the easiest situation is that you will have phases where you only turn in one direction. And if nobody calls you on it, you will keep turning in that one direction more and more and more and more, because you will get more comfortable turning in that same direction. So when you turn in that, usually it's to the right, because you're pulling the right roll stick, and it's easier to kind of pull it towards the center than to push it, right? Because when you push the roll stick, you kind of run out of finger travel, right? Whereas when you pull it, you've got plenty of, and there's sort of more sensitivity almost, I guess we could say, when you pull the roll stick to the right. So you'll naturally want to do that more. And then once you start doing it more, you'll get better at it. And then your brain will go, well, every time I flip to the right, it looks better and it's crisper or it's more accurate. And so the snowball just rolls down the hill, right? Whereas if you give the person that you're flying with permission to say stuff like that, they're probably going to notice it. And they're going to be like, hey, do you ever turn to the left? And you'll go, oh, shit. So, yeah, there you go. That's how to get better as a pilot. Gertjan, huge props for mentioning that. It's hard to call yourself out on shit like that, right? It's hard to say, like, I feel like I don't have any progression right now, because it feels good to be good at stuff, right? Like, you don't want to, in front of... it's tough in front of 74 people to be like, I suck. Unless you have low self-esteem like I do, then it's very natural. But did I say low? I meant no. But yeah, man, props for calling yourself out on that. That's the beginning, right? Like the first thing that you need to do to improve something is to notice it. And then you can look into ways of fixing it. So you're already a step closer than most. Hopefully that little 10-minute rant will give you a bunch of different things to try. I'd love to work together with you over on Fiverr. But like I said, if you've just got anybody near you that flies, even if they're not better than you, even if they're worse than you, just say, if you have the courage, say to them, like, hey, I'm about to fly a battery. Can you do me a favor and give me just brutal, honest, thoughts on what I'm doing? And then you can also make it a little bit simpler, not simpler, you can make it a little bit less awkward on them by, like, if you, like, ask them, right? Like, through the battery, if you, like, jank something up a little bit, just be like, hey, did that look janky to you? Because sometimes, like, here's the other thing too, right? Like, sometimes we'll be too hard on ourselves and, like, we'll do something that we think looks janky. And if you ask somebody else that, they'll be like, what are you talking about? No, it just looked fine. And you'll be like, oh, okay. And that's helpful too. But yeah, like, especially, like, if you ask somebody to do that and they're not giving you feedback because they're anxious, because it feels bad to tell somebody else that they suck, you can help them get over that by you being the person to ask stuff. And it doesn't even have to be, you can just ask them anything. Like, hey, did you like that? Like, even, right, just like open the lines of communication, get that back and forth going. Just kind of remind them that, like, hey, I want you to tell me what looks like shit. Or even stuff like, ooh, that look like, just make a noise or like, oh, that looked like shit, that'll get, it'll get them like kind of smiling and laughing, and that'll just make it a little bit easier. So there you guys go. Flying better is, if you feel good when you fly good. But it's hard, man. This is a hard ass hobby, and the plateaus are gonna happen, and they're gonna happen over and over and over again. And I'm here to tell you that there's hope. God damn it, you can bust through those plateaus. These are the majority of the ways that I've found to do that. If you have another way to break through a plateau, drop it in the chat for everyone to read, and tag me in it, because I'll say it out loud. And then the people that listen to these streams audio only will hear about it, which is another perk over on the Patreon page. You can join the Patreon for $3 a month. You can donate more than that, but for $3 a month you can get on the Patreon. That's 10 cents a day. That's 10 cents a live stream. If me yakking for 2 to 3 hours is not every day is not worth 10 cents, I don't know what is. Espander says, no Sim Sunday? Not today, Espander. I gotta focus, man. It's just my gear is all over the goddamn place from this shoot. Rampage is coming up. I got a lot of work to do. Double A dropping the link to Patreon. Thank you, brother. Frank Nicholas dropping the link to CiottiFPV.com. Thank you, brother. As well as the link to FPV Exchange. And Drone Goat says, Italian football. I'm from Italy, bro. Very cool. I'm assuming Italian football is what us cheeseburger hot dog faces refer to as soccer. I assume. If not, let me know, Drone Goat. It's very cool. I assume that they don't have pigskin football, I guess I could call it, in Italy. Your Majesty with a $5 super chat. He says, what do you recommend to get started with meditation? Well, now we're talking, Your Majesty. If you don't know, the beginning of this year, I found Healthy Gamer GG. If a mod can drop a link to Healthy Gamer GG on YouTube and or Twitch, I would love it. Healthy Gamer GG is a channel run by Dr. Kanoja, Dr. K. He, at 23 years old, he failed out of medical school because he couldn't stop playing World of Warcraft. He said, F the world, I'm going to India to learn to be a monk at an ashram. He spent 7 years training to be a monk, meditating, and learning everything and anything that's required to become a monk, and then met his now wife right before he took his vows of celibacy and all that fun stuff to be a monk. Moved back here to the U.S., finished up getting his medical degree, got a job at Harvard specializing in gaming addiction. And his side hustle became Healthy Gamer, which is a channel where he works with streamers, typically Twitch video gaming streamers, and basically does like 1 to 2 hour long therapy sessions with them. It's not actually therapy because you're not allowed to do therapy on the internet. But yeah, he has a talk therapy session with them, and at the end of it, so one of the cool things about his background, right, is he's got like the Eastern medicine and the Western medicine, and he's got a big long chunk of time in each one. So he mixes those two things in just this like brilliant kind of way that I think you guys are going to really dig. And he's from most of our generation. He's not a boomer. Most talk therapists are boomers. And boomers have a hard time understanding social media and how soul-crushing it can be. So that helps there as well. But yeah, watch a couple of his videos, his interviews with streamers. He does have some shorter stuff, which is great. But yeah, at the end, like usually like an hour and a half in, he has a good enough feel for that person that he's working with to understand, okay, they have a lot of anxiety and a little depression, or they have ADHD and PTSD, right? And so the 7 or so years that he spent in India, he learned hundreds of different meditation techniques and how those different meditation techniques, like in what cases they work the best. So at the end of each one of these things, he will give the streamer a 1 or 2, and he'll actually do it live on the stream, meditation practices, right? It's a practice. You have to do it every day. It's not something that you can really get good at. It's just something that you have to do over and over and over again. And yeah, he has like one or two targeted ones for them. So one of the cool things is like when you're watching some of his stuff, like eventually you'll watch one and you'll like really connect with that person on a bunch of different things from their past, traumas, stuff like that. That's the, like at the end of that episode, that's the meditation technique that you probably want to focus on. But for the most part, you'll know once you've, if you can do 5 or 10 or the target is 20 minutes of meditation a day will literally rewire your brain. It will trigger neuroplasticity in your brain, and it will very literally, like this is backed by science, form new connections in your brain. That is the magic of meditation. The easiest way to think about it is that every single minute of your entire life up until this point right now has been a sequence of good and bad experiences that your subconscious have in there locked, running around like little angry children screaming and yelling. Meditation is your chance for 5 or 10 or 20 minutes to put that fucking backpack down and just give your brain and your mind a break. And it just works. Like, there are millions and millions and millions of people on this planet that do it every single day. Do you really think that those people are all crazy and you're not? And that you know something that they don't, right? You're worth it. Give yourself a little bit of time every day to just chill out and just shut. It's a practice. The main part of the practice is turning that off. And you're basically, the thoughts are going to come, and the practice itself is letting those thoughts go, right? You ever had a thought that you can't get out of your goddamn head? It's because you've never practiced doing that, because you haven't meditated. That's what meditation really is. And when you really break it down, it's practicing turning it off and just breathing and just feeling your body. Your body is always in the now. Your brain is always in the future and in the past, right? You're always thinking about what's tomorrow, pre-planning a conversation, pre-planning an event, pre-planning Rampage that's coming up. How the hell am I going to set up this micro mayhem area? If you take a little bit of time every day to shut that shit off, and it's hard. It's hard. That's why it's a practice, right? That's why it's not a life hack. If you do it enough, you can actually sit there for 20 minutes and just chill. And it's good, and you're gonna dig it. But you gotta do it. You gotta do it every single day. Headspace is amazing. FinFPV calls out. Headspace is an application on your phone, which is kind of funny because one of the things that for me meditation does is get me the fuck off my phone. But it's a perfect use of your phone. Headspace is also on Netflix right now. So yeah, a lot of ways that you can get started. But here's the thing. You just have to do it. It's, like I said, it's not really something that you get good at, so like resist the urge to like research it on Google and like, oh, I'm gonna get good at meditating. Like, no. You just do it. Like, it's not about getting good, it's about just doing it. Like, you just have to do it, and you just have to do it every day. And then when you miss a day, you don't beat yourself up. Like, it's fine. You just do it. When you think about it, when you have the time, you just do it. You just have to, Nike. Just do it. T-Bird says, still look ugly. Agreed. Freelo just says, GoPro was fine, had to factory reset my phone. Nice, Freelo Joe. Marcelius FPV with a $5 super chat. No comment, just wants to support the madness that is me. Thank you, Marcelius. Much appreciated, man. He says, take some of my government money. I appreciate it, man. Very cool of you. Thank you, Joe. I think that's north-ish. License to Drive says, tip for newbies, upload your flights to YouTube and use it as an archive history of your flying capability. I've accidentally done that. It's great. How'd you do it accidentally? I've accidentally done that. Great to see where I started and where I am now. To go even simpler than that, I mean, I love that. I absolutely love that. For sure, do that, guys. But to go even simpler than that, watch your flight footage. Record and watch your flight footage. That is one of the best things that you can do to get better. Because in the same way that an instructor, a teacher, doesn't have to be on the sticks and they can just watch and focus on what it looks like, Watching your flight footage is doing exactly that. The problem is, the reason why instructors and teachers are more effective is because they're doing it now, right? They're going to give you feedback right now, and then you can try it a different way. Watching your flight footage, you're going to see all kinds of stuff you don't like. You're going to lock that away in your brain. Next time you go out and fly, you're going to forget all of it. And you're going to fly, and you're going to watch your flight footage again. You're going to go, God damn it. Every single one of those things, and then you're going to see all those things again. You're going to lock it all away. The next time you go out, you're going to remember one of those things. But you know what? It's better than remembering none of those things. So you're going to remember one of those things. You're going to do it. And sometimes by remembering that one thing, you'll notice that you tried it differently, and then you go, oh shit, what were those other things that I was thinking about? And like, maybe you'll remember one other one. You'll probably forget all of them, but then you'll do that cycle again. And every single time you go out, you're going to kind of go through that cycle, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes you remember all the things, sometimes you never remember all the things, but sometimes you remember multiple, sometimes you don't remember any, but that's okay. You just got to do it. You just got to try it every time. So watch your flight footage. That's really important. It's really tempting to just, if you're trying to get better, okay? If you're trying to get better. If this hobby is just about going out and having fun, don't do any of this stuff, because it doesn't make it less fun. It just shifts the focus. And going through this process has a tendency to kind of make it a little bit more serious. And yeah, if it's just about like a release and like being good is not something that's important to you, don't do any of this stuff. Like, seriously, don't do any of this stuff, because it's just going to take time and take focus away from that. But if being good at it is something that you're interested in and you think it might make you feel better, like it does for me, these are the ways to do that. And I think it needs to be a mix, to be really honest. I think that if you're the type of person that you just don't care at all about being good and it's all just total smiles top to bottom when you go out and fly, I'm very jealous. That is amazing. That is a fucking good way to live right there. But for me, I have to be like somewhat competent. And then that turns into like, well, I could just be a little bit better, and then I would feel a little bit better and a little bit right. So yeah, do a little soul searching there, because constantly focusing on getting better can drive things into the ground. It can ruin hobbies. So be careful with that. I'm in my 40s now, so I can give you sage old man life advice like that. Let me blitz through. It looks like I'm only 15 minutes behind. Not bad. Usually by this point I'm like an hour behind, and I have to go as fast as I can through the chat to get caught up, but I think we're doing pretty good here. Vern Kelk says, it's like a car. The more you drive it, the more you become one with the machine, but hints and dips should always be taken in. Yeah, very true, Vern. Vern kind of hinting at one of the other things that really helps you get better is flying the same thing over and over again, right? Like with a car, it's expensive to add performance parts to your car. It's also a pain in the ass. So typically with your car, like you just drive it. It's just the same every time you drive it, right? So you get better at it because it's the same platform every single time. With these things, we change them. It's so cheap and so easy to change them all the time that we have a tendency to do that, right? We have a tendency to go out and fly, come home, fiddle, go out and fly, come home, fiddle, go out and fly, and then we build a totally different rig, and then we build a third totally different rig. That doesn't help. Like, having the same platform every single time that you fly really, really, really helps. So having multiple builds that are completely identical is a huge key to getting better. Resisting the urge to like fiddle every single time and you know, change your tune, change your filtering, it really does help. You wanna make changes and then relax for a while and just fly the same thing for as long as you can stomach it, and then make some more changes and then fly the same thing over and over and over again. It really, really, really helps. Christian Float says, suck it, process it, progress. Nice. Kurt Jen says, thanks for the answer about starting with lift. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Thanks for your answer about starting with liftoff and how you started FPV. I appreciate it, man. You got it, Garrett Jen. Thanks for the great question. I always love talking about. To be super honest with you guys, like the technical discussions are great, and I know that's what a lot of people come to this channel for. And I've spent a lot of time diving into the technical side of this hobby because you kind of have to. But what I really like to do and talk about is the flying side of things. That's what I think not many people talk about. And that's kind of the juice for me, man. Like that's the like you can build a rig for like $200 that flies 98% as good as like a $600 KISS. I mean, Christ, if you build the $200 rig on Betaflight, it'll probably fly better than a KISS rig in a lot of ways. That costs triple or quadruple the price. But yeah, money is not the barrier with this hobby, which, man, that is like a big part of this hobby that I love. With motorsport, which I was 10 plus years into, that is not the case, man. Like, you can get better and better and better and better as a driver, but within a couple years, you can kind of get to a place where the saying that we used to use is, so that, like, you would think the saying would be, how fast do you want to go? But the saying that we had was, how fast do you want to spend? Not saying, like, how quickly do you want to spend money, but, like, how fast do you want to go? Take out the word go and add the word spend in, because spending money will just make you go a lot faster, right? More horsepower, more tires, wider tires, shit like that, stickier tires. This hobby is not like that, and it is a beautiful part of the hobby because it really... it frustrates the people. It tends to frustrate the people with big egos, because the people with big egos and big bank accounts, those are the people that are used to being able to just throw money at something and get good. And I don't think that this hobby has a lot of those people, and I don't tend to get along well with those people. Maybe it's because I'm an insecure prick, and you know, it pisses me off that I bust my ass to get good with cheap gear, and then they just throw money at it and get better. Which, you know, no wrong answers. Like, they're at work working super hard to make that extra money, to be able to do it that way. That's fine. I prefer to do the fun thing. I don't necessarily, well, previous to this is now my work, and it is very fun. But previous to this, as a project manager, as a salesperson, I didn't find work to be nearly as fun as my hobbies. But hey, different strokes for different folks, right? It's fine. But yeah, it's a really cool part of this hobby, is the fact that the financial barrier to entry is very, very, very low. And you're able to really just focus on yourself as a pilot. And to get better as a pilot, you have to do the fun thing, which is flying. Unfortunately, you also have to do the kind of annoying thing, which is fixing and building. But the majority of what you have to do is just fly a lot. So, J Drone saying what's up. Remy Tim dropping a link to Healthy Gamer. Thank you, Daniel. Macelia saying dopamine fast. Hell yeah. Mork says, hey, Ciotti and Collective. Good to have you in here, Mork. Your Majesty says, thank you so much. Great response. Was really hoping you weren't just going to say Headspace. Appreciate the detailed response. Not saying Headspace is bad. Yeah, Headspace is great, but there's much more to it than that. There's much more to meditation than that. But I got to be honest, man. Meditation is just about doing it every single day. And there are a lot of things that come with that. One of the sort of most out there things is the fact that, like, you're worth it, right? Like, this is your life, and you're worth 20 minutes a day, right? Like, your happiness is worth 20 minutes a day. And I know that sounds very woo-woo. Us as men, we have this unbelievable aversion to anything that's not based in science. Well, meditation is based in science, yo. Look the science up. It's there. Don't bother. It's just there. But you just have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And it's 20 fucking minutes. Like, there are days that I don't do it, and it's like, come on, man. There were 20 minutes. And here's the really annoying thing, is that the days that you don't have those 20 minutes, you are less productive in those days. I can all but guarantee you that on those days, if you'd done the meditation practice and you'd taken those 20 minutes, you would have been faster doing and better doing all the things that day. So it's like that, you know, it's that like you can't afford not to do it kind of thing, right? Try it. Try it for a month. Try it for 2 months. You won't have to. If you try it for a week, you'll be like, oh shit. And then you'll want to do it. That was my path. That's been like everybody's path thus far that has actually listened. And then messaged me a couple weeks in like, dude, holy crap. Give it a shot, man. It's your life. It's your happiness. It's your brain. Our brains are overloaded. Nothing but marketing, nothing but signals, nothing but noise all day, every day. You need a couple of minutes to just shut that shit off. You're going to dig it. Go do it. Todd Tube says, what do you consider a boomer? Oh, God, I don't know, Todd Tube. Anybody older than me, basically. I guess boomers are what? Like 50 plus, let's say? Because you know what my definition of boomer is? People who did not grow up with the internet. Like so the internet popped up for me, the real internet, right? Not like the technical internet, not the Wikipedia internet version of the internet, right? Where you go to Wikipedia, type in the internet, and it says the internet started in 1986. The actual internet, right? When the internet became a thing, and all of a sudden, mankind had access to every bit of information ever, right? That's too much. That's too much. It's great. I mean, it's, you know, it defines our generation. But people who do not grow up with that, people who were, you know, deep into their 20s, let's say, maybe into their 30s, before that became available to them, in my opinion, had a very different experience as a human being on this planet, right? Because like looking stuff up in an encyclopedia and getting your knowledge from other human beings is very, very different than having an infinite amount of knowledge available to you at all times. I now that I kind of think through, I really do think that the internet, right, the actual internet, has defined my generation. Marcelia says, Ciotti feeling chatty after a few days no stream? Yeah, it's true. I'm not really ready to talk about FPV yet, I don't think. Plus, you guys are asking about this stuff, so it's your fault. Blame it on you. I don't know. That's my no right or wrong answers on what a boomer is. Although if you Google search what's a boomer, it'll give you the right answer. Ben Watkins says $145 for a refurb session 5. Worth it for footage reviewing? 100%, Ben. If you guys can get a session for less than a session 5, for less than $160, buy it now. If nothing else, you will be able to sell it for damn near $200. They're going for $200 pretty regularly. I just saw one go for $250 on Facebook Marketplace. So if nothing else, then for an investment, buy the damn things. Speaking of session 5s, it's time for shout out to Mighty Car Mods. Don't sue me. Go subscribe to Mighty Car Mods and Mighty Car Mods 2, their sub channel. That's their little interlude to their mailbag section. Okay, good. I have this terrible tendency to open boxes with the address facing the camera, and like I've done it with my own address, so it's fine. But I don't want your guys' addresses to necessarily be on a live stream that gets watched by 500 to 1,000 people. Look what I got. Ooh, look at it. It's another session 5. I'm not going to tell you who I bought it from because they're so goddamn rare. And I'm selfish. This is a rebuilt Session 5 that has a buzz in the audio. So this session shall hereby be named Buzz, which I'm going to write on it. So we can call him Buzz or her. You know, Session 5s are not, they could be gender fluid, gender neutral. So Buzz is going to be my, the Session 5 that I fly here for a while, because Buzz is now officially the worst Session 5 that I have. I have a factory fresh refurb one, which will be the last. That's the last. Or if I'm shooting something really interesting, I'll use that one. But that's going to be the holdout that I save for important stuff. And then I've got one that's got a little tiny scratch in the lens that I don't think you can really see in the footage. That's the one that I've been beating the hell out of. And then I have another one that is a little dented, but screen is perfect, mic is perfect. So yeah, I'm very happy. I got this for $90. So yeah, this is awesome. Very, very happy to have this. This guy is also not waterproof. I'm just writing Buzz on all four sides. This is not waterproof. When they get taken apart to be repaired by people, not by GoPro, when you seal them back up, they're not fully waterproof anymore. So I also will not be flying this over water, but that's okay. Already has a Gorilla Glass screen protector on. Very cool. Yeah, look at that. Amazing! This probably will not survive next weekend. This will more than likely get obliterated at Rampage. The other mailbag is a box from CiottiFPV, which looks suspiciously like FPV crates. Let's take a quick look. I will not be opening these FPV, if they are FPV crates, I will not be opening them here. I'll do a separate live stream with the FPV crate unboxings. Yep, they sure are. So we've got the sub 250 with the new artwork on it. Ooh, extra stickers again. Thanks, guys. We've got the receipt. You can see the sticker sheet. That I'll show you. I don't know why they've been throwing in extra sticker sheets, but I'm glad they are. These stickers are gnarly. That's not the right scene. Extra sticker sheet. And the big box. And I'm on the wrong scene. So now the artwork matches again between the two boxes. Very cool. Thank you, FPV Crate. Very kind of you to send these over. Go check those guys out. They've got the best, hands down, the best of the subscription boxes. Subscription boxes are tough, man. It's tough to give all the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are subscribing stuff that they want. I'm on their internal Facebook group chat, so I get to see and sometimes contribute to what they have access to big quantities of at good prices. And it's hard to decide like what they can get that makes sense so that you guys get a good value and so that they can stay in business. But they obviously do a better job of it than anyone else, because I think they might be the only subscription box left. So they've been great to work with. It's been great to see them go through that decision-making process. It's easy to bash on these subscription boxes and be like, I didn't get what I wanted this month. Just, keep in mind, like, that's kind of a part of the game. That's when you give somebody a bunch of money and you say, hey, send me different shit every month. You're not saying like, hey, send me exactly what I want every month. So yeah, but here's the really fun thing. When you get the stuff that you don't want, you've got giveaway stuff you've got give to friends stuff, you've got FPV exchange stuff, you've got stuff that still has value to someone, right? Find that someone. It feels good giving people stuff. So if you go fly with a bunch of dudes and you got a bunch of stuff in the FPV crate that you don't want, just be like, yo, you want this? I don't need it. Yo, you want this? I don't need it. And eventually somebody will be like, oh, cool, dude, thank you. That's so kind of you. That's amazing. We're best friends now. I'll paint your garage for you now because you gave me 3 bags of propellers. Karma, yo. Feed that karma and it'll come back around. It's just how the world works. Vern Kelk says, but did you sign it? LOL. Sign what, Vern? I don't remember what we were talking about at 3:49. Sign it. Sign. What could I have signed? What did I sign? Mork with 5 CHFs. Chuffs. Thanks for the chuffs, Mork. He says, support the madness. Sounds perfect. Chuffs. What's a chuff? I'm just going to call it chuff from now on. Congestive heart failure. Thanks for the 5 congestive heart failures, Mork. Thanks a lot, Google, you jackass, not knowing exactly what I wanted you to tell me. Ricardo Ferreria says, saw a video you and Bardwell did a few months ago. One of the topics was feed forward in Betaflight. Can you explain it again, please? Thanks. Sure, Ricardo. Really good question. So feed forward is one of the many things that I love about Betaflight over all of the other flight firmwares, which is that so when your rig is in the air and nothing is happening, there's no wind, you're not doing anything on the sticks, this is considered 0 error. So it's just going to stay exactly in the... So you fly this thing 10,000 feet up in the air, and it just starts falling. And it's going to stay exactly like this, in a state of 0 error. If the wind hits it, that's error. The PID loop, stop thinking of it as a PID loop. PID doesn't mean anything to most people. Error does mean something. What the PID loop is error correction, all right? So it's falling from 10,000 feet, and the wind hits it. The wind is error. The PID loop is going to correct for that error. It does this 4 or 8,000 times a second, all right? So the wind hits it, that's error. It fixes the error. If you move the sticks, that's considered error. The error correction is going to... So you move the stick... This thing is still sitting like this. You're moving the stick and commanding it to do something. Let's say it's roll, right? You've now moved the stick. It's not rolling yet. That's error. The PID loop now kicks in to correct that error. And it starts rolling to match your stick, to match what you've told it to do on the stick. Let's say you push the stick all the way to the plastic on roll. It gets to the targeted roll rate, and now it's in a state of no error because it's doing exactly what the stick is telling it to. If the wind hits it, that's going to introduce error. The PID loop is going to come online again, basically, and correct for that error because you still have this the stick over, and it just wants to keep doing what the stick is telling it to do. So it's in a state of no error now, all right? That's how the PID loop works. That's the error correction from, like, you take a bunch of steps back and you look at it, that's actually what it's doing. The problem with that is, you move the stick, the error correction sees that as error, it's got to catch up. Like, it's like a backwards sort of process, right? Like, the stick movement itself doesn't drive the quad. The error does. And that's got a delay in it. Feed forward feeds from the stick movement. So when you move the stick, the feed forward pushes. The word push is the way to think about it. The error correction is kind of like a pull. It pulls it back, right? Like you move the stick, that introduces error. The PID loop, the error correction, pulls it towards that error until it hits set point. And it's a 0 error system again. Feed forward pushes. So when you start the millisecond that you start moving that stick, your feed forward value pushes this thing to give it a head start so that it's not waiting for the error to happen. So the feed forward happens earlier The easiest way to think about it is that the feed forward happens first, and then the PID loop comes in. So feed forward is why Betaflight matches set point. All set point is a fancy word for what you're doing with the stick. So Betaflight matches what you're doing with the stick miles better than all of the other flight firmwares. This is why Betaflight can look robotic. It's robotic because your fingers are robotic. Betaflight will, with the proper, with I mean not even proper, with like 60 to 100 to 150 points of feed forward, it will perfectly match what you're doing on the sticks. So if you're doing the perfect thing on the sticks, that's what you want, right? Like if you can get really good and your fingers can be perfect, you want the quad to perfectly match that. So for me, that's the biggest reason why Betaflight just demolishes all the other firmwares, because it's the only firmware that can do that. Because of feed forward, because of iTerm relax, because of anti-gravity, because of a lot of different things, but feed forward is the biggest part of it. Here's the caveat. My fingers are shit. I don't move the sticks the way that I want it to look all the time. I move the sticks jittery. I have like little tiny vibrations in my fingers, right? Because we're human beings. So for me, well, also, when I watch my flight footage and I have higher feed forward so that the quad is matching the sticks perfectly, I just don't like the way it looks. Straight up. Like, the way that I tune my rigs is by the footage. It's all about the footage for me. I want the footage to look as good as possible. And for me, as much as I love what feed forward does, and I love how much earlier it accelerates the rig and how much better it matches the set point and what you're doing with the sticks, which is what feels good. High feed forward feels really good. When you're flying, you have a better flying experience. But then for me, when I watch the footage, I have a worse experience. And I put more value on the footage than the flight experience in the goggles. So low feed forward eliminates that beautiful set point matching ability. I pretty much turn the feed forward off, and it adds some softness. And weirdly, that's what the other flight firmwares do. That's what I liked about KISS. That's what I liked about Flight 1, is that they were sloppier. They were more delayed. They were softer. And that's why you can tell the way that you can sometimes tell watching flight footage whether or not it was, like, what flight firmware it was flown on. If it was flown on KISS or Flight 1, it's going to be noticeably softer around the edges, floppier, more bounce back, more delay than with Betaflight. What's cool about Betaflight is you can just turn stuff down. So like with Betaflight, you can get like an incredibly perfect set point match, or you could just turn the knobs down a little bit, turn your feed forward down, and get the same flight experience as Flight 1 or KISS. Whereas with Flight 1 and KISS, you can't turn the knobs up, right? So Betaflight allows you to have it all. KISS and Flight 1 put you in this little box, this little window, and I don't want that. I especially don't want that when they cost more money and don't really, yeah. Lots and lots and lots of reasons to why Betaflight is better. At this point, I should say in my opinion, but I don't really need to, because it's just better. Full stop. It just is. It lets you set it up so that you get the exact same flight experience as the other firmwares, or you can get a better flight experience. Not better, different. There's a bigger window. There's a bigger tuning window. Like Flight 1 and KISS, you're in here. Betaflight, you're out here. You can make it more sloppy, or you can make it more tight. Oh, okay, no, that's not correct. Flight 1 and KISS, for you guys, I got to do it this way. Super sloppy to super, super, super locked in. Flight 1 and KISS give you this much of a window. Betaflight gives you this much of a window. So you can be anywhere in here with Betaflight. You can be all the way down here. You can be in the middle. You can be all the way up here. I tend to be somewhere in the middle. And with RPM filters and some other things, Betaflight also allows you to fly home without cooking motors or ESCs, or just fly home. It also allows you to fly on like really banged up motors, really banged up frame arms, really banged up propellers. And those things are all really important to me. My experience with Flight 1 and KISS was not that at all. It was an experience of like, oh my God, I have to spend a ton of money keeping this rig completely clean all the time. And it was just constantly replacing motors, constantly replacing props, just being like worried about the rig and just making sure that the rig is just absolutely perfect all the time. Whereas with Betaflight, you can just throw shit together, beat the hell out of it, bash it into concrete, and it's just like, come on, dude, bring it. That propeller's got a 90-degree bend halfway through. We're fine. That motor's only going to get a little bit warm. You're good. You eventually you'll start to get jello in the footage, but see, that's kind of the other thing. Like, jello in the footage, that's the limit for me, right? If totally clean is over here and then jello in the footage is here, Betaflight gives you this tuning window. KISS and Flight 1, in my experience, do not. By the point where KISS and Flight 1 freak the fuck out because there's too many vibrations is quite a ways off of before you start to get jello in your footage. And in a lot of cases, Flight 1 and KISS will give you artificial, like software-induced mid-throttle oscillations and jello in the footage. You can see a year and a half to 2 years ago, all of Steele's footage had a lot of mid-throttle oscillations because KISS had some update and it just couldn't handle it. You really don't see that with Betaflight. You don't see that stuff. Betaflight handles vibes so much better, and a number of other things so much better that it just gives you better footage. That was Schizo's thing about Betaflight, and the reason why he kept going back to it over and over and over again, even when he was a sponsored Flight 1 pilot, is that Betaflight gives you better footage. The end. Sponsored pilot. It says something, don't it? He was getting Flight 1 stuff for free and having to pay for Betaflight stuff. Great question, Ricardo. Freelojo says, I think I've got this whole FPV thing backwards. Garrett Jen says, if you would build a new 3-inch rig right now, what would you put in it for sure? Keep up the good work, man. It would be my Ripsqueaks. Look up any of my Ripsqueak builds from 2 to 3 months ago, Garrett Jan, or just scroll down in the description. That's it. That's all the parts and pieces. Whew. I've been talking a lot over the last 5 days too, so I gotta chill a little bit this week. If I just bring the volume of my voice down a little bit, I'll be fine. I know I'm gonna be talking a ton at Rampage. Journey Droid says boomers were born 46 to 64. Really? I don't realize boomers are that old. Yeah, it makes sense. Because yeah, so I guess no, that totally makes sense. 46 to 64. So yeah, they were like late 20s, 30s, and 40s by the time the internet really came out. Right? So imagine living until you're 30 plus years old before you had access to the internet. That would be a very different experience as a human being, right? And like by the time you get into your 30s, like your development is kind of done. Not really, but you guys know what I mean. Todd Tube says, I'm 50, Gen X, we created the internet. Yeah, there you go, Todd, exactly. Mr. Z says, our gen is leading the charge into the digital age. License to Drive says, by uploading my favorite flights to YouTube, I accidentally created a history archive of my flying capability. Got it, License. Okay, now I know what you mean. But I still think of myself as a newbie after flying FPV for 4.5 years. Yeah, me too. I'm still nowhere near the top guys in terms of my ability to fly. So to me, I'm still, yeah, mediocre. That's where a lot of that is based sort of in my mental illness issues, specific issues that I have. But you know, inside of our brain, we have different parts. I have a really hard time with what I've named my pusher part. It's the part of me that always pushes me to be better. It's a very deep seeded part of myself from growing up in a world where it was like, this, like, accomplish something, but what's next? How can we do it better next time? There was not, for me, there wasn't much celebration of accomplishments. There was not much, like, ability to sit back and be like, yeah, I did that. That's awesome. That feels good. It was a lot of, like, okay, that's done. How can we go better? Better. Next time. So yeah, the pusher part of me is tough because you never get to celebrate or appreciate the things that you worked hard for. You just immediately go to the next thing. You see this a lot in very high achieving people, right? Go figure. You're not wasting time sitting back and being happy. You're obsessing over the next thing, and it's time, right? Everything comes back to time. Like, to me at least, like, everything comes back to time spent. Like, you pour enough time. Like, obviously, work smarter, not harder, kind of thing, but you still gotta work hard, right? You can work really smart, but you still gotta work. So yeah, it's the pusher part of me is it's good and bad. He has his there's a lot of things I love about that part of me, but there's a lot of things that I hate about that part of me, and managing that is a lifelong journey, and it's a journey that I'm finally, like, understanding. My this talk therapist that I have right now is just absolutely brilliant, and he's kind of brought that to light. And I work my ass off managing that, and that's one of the things that comes up in every session, every single week, and has for pretty much all year this year. But yeah, it's a part of me that has gotten me to where I'm at, so I can't be too pissed off at that part of me, right? But got to keep them in check sometimes, because it's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress around that, right? Always looking at the next thing is very, very stressful. Slideby says, should the internal RF on the QX7 have more than XJT D16 and LR12? Not sure if I broke mine. Yeah, there should be, like, D8. There should be a bunch of stuff in there. But, I mean, how would you break that? That's, like, cooked into the ones and zeros. I mean, you can always just download OpenTX and just it sounds like now might be a good time for you to update your OpenTX, Slideby. So Google OpenTX, and you can, get, like, the most recent version of the OpenTX firmware and put that onto your, what do you say, QX7? Yeah, put that onto your QX7. A lot of good YouTube content on how to work with OpenTX. I try to not I try not to deal with OpenTX very much because it's annoying to me. But yeah, sounds like it's a good time for you to update the firmware on your OpenTX or on your QX7 there, Slideby. So maybe use this as an opportunity if you think you broke it, right? It's a good thing to do, right? Like it's one of, like, I hate updating stuff. But now is kind of a perfect time for it, I think. Mr. Huggy says, first started using the internet in 1998. Yes, 1999. IRC instead of Messenger. Telnet, email-based news groups instead of Facebook. Web search is doing Alta Vista. Yeah, that's right. Downloads took days. Yeah, Alta Vista, one of the very early search engines. I remember being very resistant to Google. I stuck with Alta Vista for a long time. Macelia says, tiny 1.3 gram 470 35 volt cap that came with my Mamba, or 2.2 gram 470 35 Panasonic. I always use the Panasonic caps. I always use the golden blacks. I just feel better. The weight difference is not enough. Like 1 gram is fine. Yeah, there's also, I think, do not quote me on this, but I think those golden black Panasonic caps are the only low ESR capacitors. I don't know. I just use them and they work. And I've heard people smarter than me with electricity say that those are the ones to use, and I'm like, cool. Moving on. Vern Kelk says, my prize. Did you sign it? If it was the newbie drone lanyard, then yes, I did sign a newbie drone lanyard. If it was not the newbie drone lanyard, send me another message on CiottiFPV somewhere and remind me what the prize was and tell me to sign it, and I will sign it. Michael Scott Rue says, see you at Rampage. Sounds good, Michael. Come check out the Micro Madness area. I will be there. Hey, by the way, I'm behind a little bit on giveaway stuff. I'm going to try to get caught up on giveaway stuff this week, but the main focus is Rampage. At one point, I was like 2 months behind on giveaway stuff, and you guys didn't like totally freak out. If for some reason like you want a giveaway and you really need something in that giveaway, definitely message me and be like, hey, do you mind sending it out now? And I will do it. But it's your guys' fault. You've not yelled at me enough for not sending out your giveaway stuff in a timely fashion. So yeah, if you want me to if you're going to be at Rampage and you want a giveaway, that's awesome. That'll save me a couple bucks shipping. Just let me know. But yeah, always feel free if you want a giveaway thing and there's a reason that you really, really need it, like right now, it's totally fine. Just message me. Otherwise, I'll get them out when I can. I juggle a lot of stuff, and I try to get them out as quick as I can. Sometimes I'm on top of it. This year I've been really, really good. This is the first time I think this year that I've been behind on the giveaway stuff. The problem is a bunch of the giveaway things I have work to do on, and I want to live stream that work. And I also think that it would be cool for you guys to see the giveaway thing that you won on the bench, right? Maybe that's just me making excuses and trying to make myself feel better, but hey, whatever works. Paul McDonald says, how do you feel about balancing out cells on batteries? My charger is saying it won't charge it. Three of the 4 cells are down in the 2.9, fourth is at 3.2. Thanks. Paul, if this is one of the things that I love about the Joshua Bardwell Strix parallel boards. They have, they have poly fuses in them that clamp down to 1 amp. So when you plug one battery in with those cells down at 2.9, and you take another battery that has all the cells at 3.5, let's say, you don't want to plug a fully charged battery in, that's too much stress. You want to plug another battery in that's as close as possible to this one that's down below 3.5. The poly fuses will immediately, when you plug those 2 batteries in, the poly fuses will clamp at 1 amp, and they will let 1 amp of juice flow from the one battery to the other. And that can bring those 2.9 cells up to 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, to the point where your charger will now recognize them and charge that battery. All that being said, that shit's dangerous, and that can burn your house down. It probably won't, but it can. If the cells go down below 3.5, they get damaged. So that battery is damaged. It's probably still fine. 2.9 is not that low. I've brought them back from 0, and I've gotten a bunch more life out of the battery. But I'm a cheap bastard. If you're not a cheap bastard like me, or you live in a home with stuff that you value, throw that battery away. So there you go. There's my favorite way to fix it. The really sketchy way to fix it is to flip your charger onto NiCad or NIMH mode. Plug only the XT30 or XT60 lead into it. Set it to 1 amp of output so it's nice and gentle, and hit charge. And with your balance lead, you're going to hook up your little battery checker. You're going to hold the battery in your hand because you want to feel for heat. Don't palm the battery like this, because if it blows up, it's going to take longer to let it go. Hold it something like this so that you can feel the heat of the cells, but if they let go, you can just drop it, right? So hold it like this, get like a little fire extinguisher handy, maybe. Don't have like, kindling below it. Just understand that there's a chance it's going to catch on fire. This is why I'm telling you, if you're not a cheap bastard like me, just get rid of the battery. I've done this, for the record though, I've done this 20, 30 times. And as long as you follow all these things that I'm telling you, you're pretty much going to be fine. But yeah, hold it like this, because what you're feeling for is for one of these cells to get hot. The batteries only really typically explode when there's heat involved. So you can hold it something like this. With it plugged in, the little voltage checker here, and you're just going to stare at that voltage checker. And as soon as those cells that are down too low get up above, like, I think 3.2 is usually the cutoff for chargers. Below 3.2, the charger doesn't want to charge it because it's a fire hazard. They don't want you to burn your house down. As soon as those cells get recovered up above 3.2 per, hit that stop button, get that fucker unplugged. It's actually now, at that point, it's a little bit safer. And you're only pushing 1 amp into it, so it's it's a fairly safe method, but it's still sketchy. It's still a sketchy thing to do. But yeah, my favorite thing is to do the Bardwell board, because then, like, yeah, it's not a charger that's hooked up to the mains that's pushing into it, right? Like, God forbid your charger freaks out when you're doing that process. Also, the charger is only pushing through this, so this XT60 or XT30 lead pushes to all the cells, whereas if you do it with the Bardwell board, it's running it through the balance lead, so it's only pushing to the individual cells that need it, so it's a little safer. But yeah, none of it is worth your house burning down, so don't do it. But if you're gonna do it, there's the safe way to do it. Johnny Droid says, technical question, recommended motor for 3 to 3.5 inch quad to fly 3D. Need low RPM torque for constant reversing, focusing on performance. I rarely watch my footage. Johnny Droid, 3D is, yeah, I mean, what's the all-up weight of the rig going to be? That's the way to choose motors. There's not one motor that's going to be better for 3D than the next. Although, really good thinking on wanting low RPM torque for constant reversing. That's a pretty, I never thought about that in terms of 3D. That's a pretty brilliant thought process there. All that means is a wider motor than, well, no, not necessarily. All that really means is that you want a little bit bigger of a motor than you would necessarily otherwise want. But here's the thing, we don't have many options as it is. So we've got like 5 motor options that are going to work well on 3-inch. So like, yeah. If you're, and I don't even need you to tell me the all-up weight. I'll just tell you those 5 motors because there's it's so quick. If your all-up weight is going to be like 350 to 400 grams, you're going to want the X-Nova 1804. If your all-up weight is going to be between 250 and let's say 200, you're going to want either the Mamba 1505, yeah, the Mamba Toka 1505, or the Brother Hobby 1504 and a half. If you're going to be like between, let's say, 160 and 200 to 210 to maybe even 220, you can do the 1306 by Emax or RCX. And then if you're going to be between like 180 and let's say like 140, there's a bunch of 1404s. I don't actually know a good 1404 that's not notchy at the moment, but yeah, those are pretty much the only motors that we've got that run smooth so that you can get good quality footage and a good tune. We don't have many options, unfortunately. MotoRef says, at what point do you technically need a ham license to fly FPV? Thanks, man. I think you're all supposed to have ham licenses, but I think the better answer is if you want to go over 1 watt. But I feel like I remember Joshua saying that we're all technically supposed to have ham licenses. But nobody does. Freeloader says, did you see the motor that ripped off of Joshua's HD1? I did. That's a very frustrating failure because it's very obviously your fault. because motors don't just I mean, like, when, yeah, like, forgot to tighten the motor screws. I've done it. I've done it more times than I can count on one hand. I'll put it that way. Very frustrating. Very, very frustrating when a motor rips off. Because, like, I use 3 motor screws. I think Joshua uses 4. So there's no, like, oh, they vibrated out. They didn't all vibrate out. If you properly crank down 3 or 4 motor screws, they didn't all vibrate out. You forgot to tighten those motor screws down. Or you neglected that rig and you didn't check the motor screws for so long that they all vibrated out, and that's just as bad, because it takes a long time. So that's a very frustrating thing to happen, because it's like, oh, I can't guarantee this, but this was my fault. But hey, that's FPV. Jody Droid says that's why it's at a certain point of flying, like exactly like Joshua did, you just laugh. Like when that happens, you have to just laugh, because you're just like, yep, awesome. I'm the worst. Jody Droid says, if we don't move on to the next thing, we obsess over the things we could have done better. If we don't move on to the next thing, we obsess over the things we could have done better. Oh, yeah, very true. Very true, Johnny Droid. There's a right amount. There's a right amount of obsession. Sivo says, weed will help you with that, LOL. Yeah, sometimes. For some people. Maybe. Definitely not a miracle cure, though. There are pretty sharp side effects to THC and CBD. Got to be careful. Certain cancer and you could make a case for weed being a miracle cure, not cure, but a miracle for cancer and seizures, some seizure disorders. But I think that's where it stops. Got to be careful with it. It's it can. What's nice about it is it's not chemically addictive, so you can stop at any time and you're fine. But yeah, all things in moderation, I guess. Where the hell was I? There we go. Flying Brian is in the house. He's also prepping for Rampage. Slide By says, I was hoping it was just as easy as flashing to OpenTX, but was worried. Haven't touched drones in a year and jumped in and whoops. Yeah, just flash the new OpenTX. Perfect, Slide By. You're gonna be very annoyed. It's not. It's just annoying enough. It's easy. Like you'll figure it out. There's tons of YouTube videos with how-tos on how to do it. But it's like, I remember the last time I did it, I was like, really? This is what, like, just like a bunch of little things in there. You're like, well, what do I do now? What's happening? But yeah, then you look up somebody else's tutorial. And they give you that one little missing step that the other person like just happened to blitz past and didn't say out loud, kind of thing. It's one of the reasons I don't do tutorials, is because every single time you do a tutorial, there's something that you don't say out loud, and then people go and they follow your tutorial and it doesn't work because there was some stupid little step that you just didn't happen to call out, because it was like an obvious step to you in your brain. But to somebody else, it's not obvious because they either haven't done it before, or their radio is a little bit different, or any number of things. So yeah, I tend to stay away from tutorials. LCVFPV says, got that newbie drone lanyard. Took me 2 days to notice it. Nice, LCV. I was gonna put it in a way harder spot to notice. Don Lad says, how did the shoot go last week? Really good, Don. I talked about it at the very beginning of the stream, so definitely rewatch the beginning of the stream because, yeah, it was good to the point of like I don't know, certain things that are really, really good, I become, to me, like life changing, right? I know that sounds kind of like, but yeah, I don't know. It's got me thinking, if you know what I mean. might want to do more stuff like this. So we'll see. With more than just Michelle. Up until this point, it's just been like Michelle has a project. Michelle being Octopunk Media, she's got a project. She gets in touch with me. I go and do it without even thinking about it. She offers me money for it. I tell her, no, 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 I'm doing it because it's fun. She forces me to take the money for it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's something that, you know, I'm really good at and I genuinely enjoy. And my goal, like my new goal for life sort of, is to have like 1 million different revenue streams and things that I love doing. That is, I'm finding that is the best way to prevent burnout. So yeah, this is, being a gaffer is something that you can make some real serious money on, and I'm learning more and more every time that I do it that I absolutely love it. Yeah, I might look into doing a little bit more of it, just because this was that good of an experience. Certainly, if the DP and AC, director of photography, main camera person basically, and assistant camera, if they're ever doing any work again and there's any option for me to be involved in it, I'm all over it. Like I already do everything that Michelle does, Michelle being typically the director and writer. But yeah, Gabe and Summers were so much fun to work with. It was just gnarly. But yeah, if you want a little bit more info on it, just watch the very beginning of the stream. I talked about it immediately because I'm still buzzing like crazy from it. Just a phenomenal experience. Riot9 says, can you send out my giveaway shit? 40th, end of the month, 30th, everything broken. Riot, you're on my list. I think it's bench work that needs to, this whole week is going to be bench work. And as I said before, I'm really trying to get totally caught up on the giveaways. What's going on, YouTube? Are you struggling? Viewership just went to 0. Yes, you're on the list, Riot. Do me a huge favor if you have a minute, though. Fire me off one more quick message somewhere, and just be like, hey, bump, reminder, blah, blah, blah. But I'm pretty sure I marked your message on red so that it floats at the top. So yeah, you'll get it soon. Sorry for the delay. MotorRef says, are you giving away that last FPV Cycle Apex build tomorrow night? Woohoo, thanks. I don't know, MotorRef. I kind of want to do something special with that. The month of April was, you know, the whole birthday 40th thing. So that was like special. I think I want to do something different with that last FPV Cycle Apex, something outside of the normal giveaways, to really drive more people to FPV Exchange, because yeah, I just want to see more people using FPV Exchange, because it's the more people that use it, the better it gets. It's an exponential website. If we all start using it, it's going to be really good, and we can all start trading stuff back and forth. But it just needs like a new website, and especially a website like this that's based around, it's like an eBay. It needs a big chunk of people to just start using it, and it's not, it's not on your normal daily like cycle of websites that you check, more than likely. So yeah, I think I want to do something a little bit different with that last Apex build. So probably not going to be giving that build away tomorrow night, if I'm totally honest, but God only knows. I change my mind every 10 minutes on stuff. Paul McDonald says, thanks, man. I'm a cheap bastard, too. Keep the auto fire off ball next to my line bones. Nice. Don Lad says, I've done that a few times with a battery that's gone down. Use a multimeter on it, it works, but then I put it in the shed for a day or two. Yeah, I got to be careful with the batteries, but there are ways that you can pretty safely bring these batteries back to life. All that being said, I will pull this video up as a reminder of how dangerous they really are. Internal YouTube studio, and so this was a battery that was sitting for like a half an hour, just hanging out. No reason for this to have happened, but this is what can happen with lipos. Where's it at? This was my reality check. Every once in a while with these batteries, you'll get literally burned. And yeah, they have a way of reminding you how creepy they are. And hopefully that doesn't happen at home.
Oh my god, it won't! GoPro's still going. Ow! Yikes! Damn! That hurt.
So yeah, there was absolutely no reason for that battery to do that. That was a crash that broke an arm, and then the battery just sat there on that barrier for a while. Technically, yeah, the sun was hitting it, but it was a white battery and it wasn't hot. It's just sitting there. I turned the VTX down. Actually, it was unplugged, come to think of it. I screamed to the corner worker to unplug it, and he unplugged it. So it was sitting there unplugged for half an hour. And then I picked it up and took the battery strap off and went to remove the battery from the grip, and it vented into my hand. It burned the shit out of the webbing between my thumb and forefinger. In fairness, that was a 6S. That was a China Hobby 6S 1500. So it was a big-ass battery. Those big batteries are the ones that are really creepy. The micro batteries, when they go, they just like... And that's it. Like there's really no big deal. But a 6S 1500, that's a big boy. The big boy batteries, you got to really respect them. I am Karate says, do you have an Xnova 1804 with a prop mounted that I can see? The prop was really tight on the motor shaft and wondering how close it should be to the bell. So there needs to be no gap. I mean, you need, as long as you crank the prop nut down hard, I am Karate, you're fine. They do put, so there's the bell, and on all the motors they do put little like crenellations or like little grooves to dig into the propeller so that the propeller doesn't spin. So that might be what you're noticing there, but you're good. Just crank the prop nut down. If you crank the prop nut down, like don't like you don't need to do that, but like if you give it a good oompa loompa, the amount of downward force that prop nut is creating is plenty. And then when you arm it and you blip the throttle, if it's loose, you're gonna hear it. But yeah, if you, as long as you crank your prop nuts down, you're good to go. That puts a tremendous amount of squashing force between the propeller and the bell. So yeah, you'll be good. Rick Can FPV with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother, for the support. He says, help changing flight controller Taycan 25 to Goku 745 and have it all wired. TX16 says telemetry connected and disconnected messages, but I have no movement in the receiver tab. Any ideas? TX16. What the hell is a TX16X? Is that one of those newfangled Radio Master radios? Okay, so the radio, the transmitter rather, says telemetry connected and disconnected. So, so the transmitter saying telemetry connected and disconnected means that the transmitter is able to talk to the receiver. So that's good. That means the receiver's not blown up. It means that your transmitter's not blown up. That's all that it means, though. The fact that you have no movement in the receiver tab, that's a whole separate issue. So that could be that it's wired incorrectly. If you've got your TX and your RX reversed, which happens all the fucking time, that could totally be the problem there. The other really common problem there is you have the wrong protocol selected in the configuration tab. So those two problems cover like 99% of the scenarios where that situation that you've got is going on, Rick Can. What I'll do is I'll just flip the TX and the telemetry and the S-bus wires on the flight controller, and that like 99% of the time that actually was the issue, because usually I've got the right protocol selected in the configuration tab. If that doesn't fix the issue, The receiver's probably shot. I mean, the whole telemetry connected and disconnected thing, that's fairly normal, especially when they're close together. If you're flying around and you keep getting that telemetry connected, not connected thing, I have no idea if you're on Crossfire or if you're on FR Sky or whatever, but that kind of doesn't matter because, like, in beta flight, well, I guess the other thing is if the ports tab is wrong, you got to check your ports tab as well to make sure you have the ports tab correct. So those are the three things: ports tab, wrong protocol selected in the config tab, wires reversed. If that's not it, I think it kind of has to be a hardware problem at that point. Is it happening on any of your other rigs? And is there somebody else local that you can try their transmitter, try to bind their transmitter up, and that'll eliminate the potential of it being your transmitter as the problem, right? Think of ways to just eliminate one potential thing at a time that's the problem. And you'll get there. If you can't, message me at CiottiFPV, wherever you want, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and we'll keep working on it. But there's 5 different things that it could be. Cool. Donlad says, in the UK, it's 25 milliwatts, lol. And apparently they actually check, which is crazy in Europe. Freelojo says, come on, Facebook. Freelojo says, motors were 2540 kV on 22.2 volts. Yeah, I've done that a bunch of times, 6S on 2400 kV. It's a lot. It's a little nutty. But it won't just make motor screws come loose magically. Like, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it will heat the motor screws up. But yeah, see, I've done it. It's been totally fine. Michael Blades says, hello. What's up, dude? Orga says, playing Velocitron tonight. I am not Orga. I just have too much... It's been a crazy last 5 days with this shoot in Charleston. My gear is all over the damn place, and I got to get ready for this Friday for Rampage. So this, from now until Rampage, is going to be all fixing, updating, dialing in rigs. Joseph Dahari says, Rampage, baby, can't wait, man. Sounds like I'm going to meet you there. Sounds good, brother. I'm the tall, lanky guy that looks like this. J. Jones says, in Black Box, do you use the gyro scaled options for pitch roll yaw to get rid of the graph to see frame resonance, or do you use the standard gyro parameters? I actually do not use Black Box, J. Jones. I can feel motor heat with my fingers and listen to rigs and get my tunes to like 98% correct. If you want to learn Black Box Explorer, head on over to Mark Spatz's channel, UAV Tech. He's also got a website. He will teach you how to use Black Box Explorer. I don't find it necessary. I just, if I have like a really weird situation, sometimes I will, nice. I will sometimes use Black Box to troubleshoot, like if I'm getting like an arm drop. Although usually, I mean, if you're getting an arm drop, either the ESC or the motor is bad, you switch the motors, that tells you if it's the motor or the ESC. If it's the ESC, you switch the ESC and you're done. I cannot remember the last time I had to use Black Box to do anything. It's a great tool, but I just don't need it. But I have been doing this for quite some time, so. But yeah, Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, he's got all the Black Box info you would ever possibly need, and he's the guy that you want to tell you about it anyway, because he's the guy that really knows it. If I tried to tell you about Black Box, it would be like a chimpanzee trying to explain, Shakespeare. Freeloja says they're finding that THC is helping people with certain types of dementia. I've actually heard that. Yeah, THC and CBD have some pretty fascinating miracle cures. It's like late night talks that were going down after our shoots. The DP Gabe was she said something I thought was particularly brilliant, which was that like truly like why, like what is it about THC and CBD that we, they don't want us to have it, right? Like it was part of a much bigger conversation, but it's I don't know, it's kind of interesting. But if the last couple of years are any indication, we should have pretty pretty wide access to it before we know it, which is a good thing because let's fucking test stuff, man. Let's throw science at stuff and see what happens. Scientists aren't evil. They're the best humans that we've got, man. All they want is to figure shit out. The fact that they get demonized by half of cheeseburger land here is absolutely mind-blowing and really sad. Really, really fucking sad. Don Ladd says, maybe film is the way to go. Good for you, bro. I doubt it, to be honest. But we'll see. It's something that's been a little bit of a part of my life. I know enough about it to know that I don't want it to be like a full-time thing. But it being more of a thing, I think, is a really good idea. T-Bird says, did Kristen do makeup? She certainly did, and she fucking killed it. She also did blood for the first time ever. That was fun. Actually, it wasn't fun, but it was fun for me to get to see it because it's always dope looking. And drag, yeah, it's true. She did really, really good work. It was pretty fucking, I mean, it always does, but better every time, you know? Go figure. You keep doing something over and over again, you get better at it. Life hacks. What's up, Drone Pilot? Mr. Huggy says, so far I've made 40 quid off of FPV Exchange. There you guys go. FPV Huggy knows the magic of Nevins and Akis's website there. Joseph DeHardy says, FPV Exchange is top notch. Love what Nevin's doing. He's doing amazing. He's doing giveaways in my Facebook group. Did one Friday. He's an amazing dude all around and doing great things for the hobby. He certainly is. Support the people that support the people that you watch. Grumpy FPV says you should see a 6,000 mAh6S go. I had some go in a helicopter. If you guys want to see some really big batteries let go, hold on. Flight Test has like the end all be all, and I think they did like a 5500 6S. Flight Test battery explosion. They have a video where they tested the bat safe. Here it is. I think this is the one. I don't want to get copyright weirdness. I'm pretty sure this is the, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. Yeah, so like just to give you a taste, like they blew up some big batteries in this episode. I thought they were testing the bat safe. Yeah, whatever. Here's the link. Go check it out. They blew up some big batteries in there, and the column of fire was pretty creepy. So you gotta respect them. You really, really, really do. But they're not that. If you respect them, they're relatively safe. Just gotta respect them. You just gotta do a couple of simple things to respect them. That's what it is. It's not hard. That's what it is. It's not hard to respect them, and yeah, so do it. Because otherwise, you'll lose everything you've ever owned. And who the hell wants that? YouTube just did the thing again. Huzzah, FPV says, for the TX16X disconnect connect problem, if he's using FR Sky, try doing the frequency fine-tuning. Might help wonders. Thank you for that piece of tech, Huzzah. I don't know anything about these Radio Master radios. I use a QX7 from ages ago. Anybody else who has any... I've heard all kinds of nasty shit about these new radios, and I am just not into it, man. The QX7 works. It's gigantic, which works with my big long fingers. So yeah, I feel bad that I don't know about a lot of the new tech, but I just don't have time. I just don't have time to stay up to date on all this new tech. Nobody sends me anything for free in terms of like new stuff, and yeah, I can't afford to buy it all. And that's just not my thing. I never want to be... I never want to try to be Joshua, right? Joshua does a perfect job being the technical guy. I kind of have my own niche, and it's important when you find a niche to stay in it and not, you know... Big fish in a small pond is always my goal. Drone Pilot says in regards to black box, don't use it unless it's a special type of rig. Get lost trying to chase down something that would never be known. Yeah, it's black box is a slippery slope. Once you start to learn it, you can pour a lot of time into it, and you really kind of don't need to have rigs that, like, if you want to and if it's fun to you, awesome, but it's not fun to me. So Steve-O says it's the side effects. Yeah, exactly, in regards to THC and CBD. You know, what's really funny about weed from a medical standpoint is that the high is the side effect, is the biggest side effect, right? Like, if you're using weed medicinally, you might not want to get, like, certain, like, paranoia, right? Like, the high can trigger paranoia. It's interesting that the high, which is why, like, most people use weed, becomes the side effect when you're using it medicinally, and it's real. It's interesting to think about it that way, but yeah, it helps too. Joseph Dahari with a $10 super chat to the healthcare fund and for your hard work, brother. Thanks, dude. Let's get it updated. 76 goes to 86, just like that. One step closer to not dying. Thank you, Joseph. You could be the reason that I stay alive, and for that, you have my eternal thanks. If you ever want to donate to whatever the fund is here, all you got to do is a super chat and just call it out in the super chat like Joseph did. You can also ask a question. You don't have to, you can say, hey, like, for the healthcare fund, and I had a quick question. Whatever, it's all good. But you do have to call it out, because if I put because I have to do this manually, so if I had to put every single super chat into this manually, it would take up like half the stream. Yeah. Riot9 says, awesome, no problem. We'll send a reminder somewhere. Much appreciated, Riot. But again, you're on my list. I think the rig, I had to completely tear this room apart. Also because we had a house sitter to take care of the pain in the ass cat, and the air mattress was in here, so like I had to move everything around. But there's a spot where I think I have your rig sitting right up in front. So this week you'll see it on the bench. I gotta add some spacers into the stack. I gotta redo a couple solder joints, and I want to put my tune on it. Don't eat that. Oh no, eat that. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. That was a treat. I thought he was chewing on the wire. There was a treat right next to the wire. Vern Kelk says, I want a 4-inch build birthday spin. Ah, right, Vern. I have a yeah. I can't figure out where to sign the damn thing, Vern. Or maybe I found a spot. Hold on. It just occurred to me where I put the stuff. It's buried. Do me a favor, Vern. Shoot me a message, even if you already have. Shoot me another message somewhere, and just say, hey, remember to sign the 4-inch rig. I remember looking at it and trying to think through where to sign it. And I don't. Oh, a little bit of both, Droid. A little bit of both. Yeah, I'll figure something out for you, man. I might have already figured it out. I don't know. Everything's a blur, man. The last 5 days were some of the most exhilarating, hardworking. It's funny, like you can always tell when I'm really like engaged mentally and like happy doing something when I just hammer this shit out of myself. Like, man, I worked harder on this movie set than I may have worked in my entire life, and it was so good. Like, you guys, you ever have like a job, I don't know, just like some things that you really enjoy, right? That are like, that have that perfect mix of like rewarding, challenging, like require thought, right? Like brain power, and there's probably more, but what I noticed this time was requiring like physical, like being a gaffer, running lighting, working on a movie set for the most part. Like it's more physical than you could ever imagine. You're running here's a perfect example of that, right? Thursday was the biggest filming day, okay? And we were inside all day on Thursday. All right? Keep that in mind. We were inside all day, guys. That's like 8.9 miles. We were in a convention center all day. And I did almost 14,000 steps. Like, it's crazy. And my phone wasn't even on me the whole time. Like, I would put my phone down on the chair that I was with for, like, long periods of time. Yeah, it's grueling. And one of the really cool things that I'm so happy about... Oof, I'm gonna wrap this up after this. My voice is starting to go. Up until like this year, like I lived a very sedentary life. Like I would wake up, I would walk to the car, I would drive to work, I would walk to my desk, I would walk back to the car. For a little bit, I would go on like 15, 20-minute like mental health walks. But like that was really it, right? This year, for the first time ever, yoga pretty much every day until pretty recently. Pull-ups, push-ups, and just more of a thought, just more mental, like, move around, you idiot. Like, go on walks, like, just respect your fucking body. And holy shit, like, every movie that I've worked on with Michelle over the last 4 or 5 years has kicked the hell out of me. And this one did, too. Like, my legs are sore, but, like, the second or third day, traditionally, I would be, like, broken. And, like, I would just have to 100% adrenaline push through, like, excruciating pain. And, like, that did not happen this time. And it fucking felt good. Like, the second day being like, oh, I'm fine, let's fucking go. And, like, not having to just, like, push through and continue to trash me. Like, there'd be movies where, like, for a week afterwards, I would be broken. Like, full-blown broken. And, like, I'm good, man. Like, I'm ready to go today. And, like, yesterday was just driving. It was a 5-hour drive. So, I mean, yesterday was certainly a recovery day, and I was a little sore, but, like, I woke up this morning good to go. And that's pretty awesome. I just never, like, respected my body at all. I treated my body like a sewage plant. And it was just, you know, whatever. Just a means to an end. But, yeah, now I'm respecting my body as much as I respect lipos, and... kind of cool. Came in really handy. So let me wrap this up because I'm going to stream every day this week. I don't want to kill my voice here today. We got no Rampage prep done, but we talked about a lot of really good stuff. And, you know, I think that's 90% of the point of these live streams is to hang out with cool people, talk about cool shit, and spread the knowledge, yo. Here comes... what can I give you guys? If I hadn't filmed this rip at the farm in 4K, well, you know what? Here, I'm gonna this is gonna run at like 1 frame a second because this computer is gonna struggle really hard. But look at the stills of this of one of these batteries at this random spot in the middle of nowhere. Fast food in, fast food out. Yeah, too. I've always been pretty good about diet. Not having a horrible diet has always really helped me out. I went veg a long time ago and lasted for a couple years, and then just kind of paid a little bit of attention to my diet. But just the lack of physical activity really has always killed me. Yeah, here you go. This is... I cannot wait to edit this. I gotta find just the right, probably piano-y, chill kind of song, not chilly. But yeah, here you guys go. This is in 4K Super View with the high-speed rig. Again, you're gonna get like 1 frame a second because this computer cannot handle 4K. But yeah, just look how gorgeous the stills look from this. The Hero 8 is phenomenal. Not for freestyle in my opinion, too heavy, too expensive. But man, for stuff like this, enjoy. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. If you want me to keep going and keep doing shit like this, hop on over to CiottiFPV.com, click some buttons. Click some buttons down here, thumbs, subscribes, bells, comments, whatever the hell you want to do. My name is Aaron Ciotti. Thanks for hanging out with me here on Sunday. Back to our regularly scheduled daily streaming as of today. Be good. See you tomorrow. Enjoy 1 frame per second of beautiful footage.